right. Well, I told you guys earlier in the week that we had several new products that would be launched, and they're not really our products. We're just really excited to get them launched and out into the market. We gave y'all total loss earlier, and now I'm really excited to talk about diminished value. And I can tell you there was a time in my career when I was not excited to talk about diminished value. But just a quick little I guess refresher course for people that may or may not be familiar with DV, diminished value, and kind of like the history. It's nothing new. I think one of our landmark cases on it was in the 80s out of Minnesota. And it was kind of tackling that whole, is DV inherited, meaning you get it just because your car's been in a loss, or is it something that has to happen after, you repair the vehicle and then sell the vehicle? In other words, do you have to like actually incur that loss? Over the course between the 80s, the 90s, we got to the Georgia diminished value case. So, for those of you not in Georgia, Georgia is a state where first parties can make DV claims against their own insurance policy. For all the rest of us in the world, that's a third party claim. But we made it very hard for body shops as insurers, and we almost wanted shops to believe that if DV occurred, it was because you had done a poor job on the repair. And as we did that, a lot of shops really got, I think, a little scared of diminished value. They got scared of talking about it, et cetera. But the times have changed. And in fact, most shops post on a regular basis that they're experiencing, hey, I wrote an estimate on my mom's car, but I never locked it or ordered parts or did anything. And now, Carfax shows that my mom had structural damage to her car. Well, all this technology in the world, whether it's our estimating system, whether it's the dealerships you're ordering parts from, or even in your insurance company. For example, the Allstate policy has a paragraph in it that says you agree to let us sell your information to vacation clubs and everybody on the planet. It's kind of crazy that that's in a policy. But once your car's in a wreck or the customer's car's in a wreck, we can't control where that data is going to go and where it's going to pop up. And everybody, when they go to buy a car, they're just conditioned now with advertising to ask for a copy of the Carfax. And if a car's had a loss, then the customer doesn't want to pay as much for that car as they might pay for another car. That's something that we want to explain to customers. Now, for me, I like to use diminished value as a negotiation tool, right? Like, I'm going to have this gap between what I want to fix the car and maybe what an insurer is going to pay. I may have a customer that maybe they don't have RTA in the policy, on a third party. I may have a customer where they don't have the desire to go to court, to like fight for or do whatever. And so if they want to apply more money towards, all the safety inspections, only OE parts or whatever, I always like to explain, well, DV is one of those things that you may want to consider. That diminished value your car is going to suffer because of the loss. You can take that money that's owed to you, and then you could apply it toward the repair and not have the out of pocket, and then not have to worry about the other things. Now, the problem with DV is it's always been, well, who determines what the DV is? Who's going to negotiate the DV? It's always involved having to hire an independent adjuster or someone to represent you. Those people have generally had some higher fees, maybe $400, $500, $600 for somebody to represent a customer on DV. And Mark Olson and Derek and I got together and we were like, DV's not, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's not that hard, right? Between my 30 years in court with it and Mark Olson's 25, 30 years in court with it, there are some formulas and algorithms around diminished value, and there's some negotiation, but it has to start somewhere, and it can't just start with, hey, I think my car's lost a couple of $100 because of a wreck. So Derek got together with Mark Olson. These two guys did this. I was just in the background doing my typical supervisory role of pointing out problems and issues and not being really helpful whatsoever. But Mark and Derek got together and came up with DV calculator and tool. And what's great about this is it not only tells your customer, or you, if you want to run it yourself, not only tells your customer what the diminished value is, but it provides a report for that, which supports that. And so the customer really doesn't have to have that independent adjuster anymore if they don't want to. So, Derek, I am excited and ready for you to tell the world about your DV tool.
Awesome. I'm excited to show it. So it's been a little bit of work, but I think we've come up with something real neat. So
You guys
I'm going
worked
to go.
hard. And I will tell everybody, it took about a year. I mean, it's probably maybe even more than a year because I remember some of our first conversations were in Texas and it's been a while since we were there doing a class. So
Yeah.
you and Mark worked hard on this.
And it's come a long way, but I think it's there, and I think people are going to really enjoy this. So we'll go ahead
Yeah.
and start off here. So we're in our crash hub right now, and that's where diminished value lives. You'll be able to go ahead and just click right on diminished value. And right here, you'll come to a dashboard where you'll be able to see any of your previous diminished values that you may have run for your customers or whatnot. And this is where we can go ahead and create a new one by just clicking the tab Create New. Right here, you have two different options. You'll be able to just select a final repair estimate that you may have a digital copy of. And if you don't, you can still do it by clicking this button and doing it manually. When you do it manually, you're just going to have to fill out all the information tabs from the copy of the repair estimate you do have. Luckily enough, we have one that we can go ahead and select here. And I'm going to go grab this estimate now. All right. Now, I know from looking at this estimate that we have a 2019 Honda Civic Hatchback EX. So it's asking me to confirm the vehicle here. I'm going to go ahead and select that Hatchback EX right here, and I'm going to hit Confirm Vehicle. Now, our system's tied in currently with JD Power and Associates and Consumer Reports in order to pull the market values of the vehicles. We still need to go ahead and put in the zip code for where that vehicle is located.
Yeah, real critical there to make sure it's the garaged address of the car, not necessarily your body shop. So make sure that you do know those.
Absolutely. The insurance company will just go ahead and fill that out if you do know the information. The data loss should be picked up off the final bill if it's on there. Important to have as much information on that final bill as you can. And it'll pick up all the information and just fill in the blanks. So here's our repaired estimate value. We have the vehicle value based on the market. And then the last couple of things we need to do is just select the severity of our damages and if there were any prior damages or any prior repairs ever done to this vehicle. So we do give you explanations of what we're looking for. So once you read through those definitions, it's easy to understand what you should be selecting. We know that this is what would be considered a moderate repair, and it did not have any prior damages to the vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and say that it was in excellent condition. And then we're going to just click Get Summary. At this point in time, and this is prior to purchasing the report, but I can drop in a final estimate and I can see what my possible diminished value on this claim would be. There are circumstances where maybe your vehicle doesn't have diminished value. So it would say there is no diminished value on this vehicle. For this particular claim and vehicle, we know that we have diminished value that ranges in between this ballpark. So I can go ahead and purchase the report here. It shows me what my final diminished value number is. So it's $2,025. I can go ahead and download it or email it to myself. So I can click download. That'll pop up my computer box and I can go ahead and hit save. I can also, again, email it to myself just by clicking that. And boom, it is done, emailed now. I just click off it and I can go back to the very beginning stages by going back to new report. It'll also be on my dashboard now. So I have it here. You notice prior to starting, we only had 3 in here. Now we have 4. So you'll always have it to go back to if you need to pull it up or print it again. Luckily, I already have it pulled up for us. So we have our DV report right here. It's going to state all the information that it pulled right off the estimate. So we have the date that we did it today, the customer's name, the vehicle, the claim number that was on the estimate. And then as we read through this report, it will have all the information of the different things that were done to the vehicle based on what the estimate read. It'll show down here what the definitions and explanations of DV are and why DV would apply to this vehicle. It will show you what the repair amount was. It shows you what the market value of the vehicle was at the time of the DV report. And then as we scroll down here, it'll tell you based on the value of the vehicle, which was worth approximately $22,500 at the time of loss, their DV amount is $2025. And the report just goes on. And then we also have terms and conditions for the report.
And that's a great now for all of that work. We're what, maybe a minute into this, 2 minutes into getting this report there,
Yeah. Maybe
right?
90 seconds, 2 minutes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and total cost on this is what to the user, whether that's the consumer or the shop. Total cost is what?
$49.95 per report. So it's a transactional based product. So there's no monthly fees, no subscription costs, no nothing. You only pay for it when you use it. And again, $49.95 per report.
Yeah. So instead of that $400 or $500 for, basically a third party to try to do their own research to come out. And I used to, I think I can't tell you how many court cases I set through on DV, and there's, the Minnesota case had a formula, right? The Georgia case just said no to the Minnesota formula kind of, but there's really been no scientific way. It just, we go to court and some we win and some we lose. And I think Mark put his court experience together and I threw some of mine in there, and the algorithm really works off of the damage and based on what we've experienced through the course of our career, which is great, which I think in a lot of ways is a way better report than some of the IAs give customers these times. I'm like, when did you go to court on DV? And these guys just look at me like, I've never been to court. I'm going, great.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I think for body shops, I really wanted to address, we were hard on body shops in the 90s. Like every time a customer raised the flag and said, I think I want to make a DV claim, we were like, oh, well, your shop must be terrible. And then we're going to reinspect the car. We wanted shops to feel gun shy. And so I guess mission completion successful. Because here we are, it's 2024. We will go online and bitch and complain every day about CCC and what they're doing with Carfax, but we will not tell customers about DV. So
right.
it's just like, it's just one of those things. And as technology kicks up, as more and more things are connected, whether, like I said, whether that's your dealership that sells the information to Carfax off of you ordered parts by VIN, or if it's, whatever is getting that information. But I was telling your people, I recently bought a car for my kid. He's about to turn 16. It had to be a stick shift. It had to be, I mean, he had like, it made it real hard for me to find him a car. So we finally found one at a Volkswagen dealership here in Little Rock, and I went to look at it and looked great. Test drove it, drove great. Price on it was decent, right? I was going to haggle because that's what I do. And they handed me the
Expect that
Carfax,
price.
and it had a pretty significant. It showed a significant collision on it on the
Okay.
front end, and I was like, and I'm looking at the car going, I see it's very rare for me to investigate a car and see no evidence of collision damage. I'm like, so I finally dug in and found a few little things, but then as I dug more, the shop that fixed it in Colorado, it actually was fixed in Colorado. It was a shop I knew, and I was like, oh, that's why the repairs are so good on it. But I ended up using that Carfax to get $3,000 off of what they were asking. So
And that's
it worked
TV.
out for me.
Well, I've talked to a couple people, and so my question for you, I think the concern from a couple repairers is if they were to help a customer, offer this as a service, could that shop potentially be subpoenaed into court if it went to that level? Is there liability for a shop to help a
Or
third
diminished
party?
value.
Yeah, that's I've
I,
been asked that question a couple of times, which I didn't think there was, but I figured I'd ask you.
Yeah, I mean, so what I always tell people is first of all, it's in this service, it's not you saying what the car's lost. It's Christ, it's us basically saying what the car's lost. At
Yeah,
that point, if we're going to go to court, the customer is going to have to get an expert witness. Now we're going to spend some money. That's going to happen. Can you get called to court? Sure, but you can get called to court now because you changed
pretty.
out a tail light or you did whatever, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
but at that point, I would tell the shop your biggest concern about DV would be if it did go to a trial base, and let's say I'm back on the other side of that fence for the insurer. My job would be to show that the loss is because the repair was bad. So then you're going to be worried more about me reinspecting the car at that point. But insurers, when we look at how things have been divided up, and then there's this fast track over here that handles physical damage, and then there's these people over here that are handling injury claims and whatever. DV's low on the radar. It just really is. In fact, the shops that we've had that have been using this program are reporting 100% acceptance rate.
Yeah.
They're
So,
running the reports.
yeah, and I think, like you said, it's important to note that this is a software with algorithms that is presenting the report to you. It's not your opinion. It's not your report. It's a software that did it. So I think that's important to note that there's not really liability in that. We're just showing the difference in what the vehicle could be worth.
Yeah, and I always tell shops there's liability in you opening the door today. There's more
Yeah,
liability in the cars you're fixing than in these things. But then I think we also have to think about I can't fix cars for free, right?
yeah,
And if I'm scared to charge the customer, if I'm scared to go to court and ask the customer to go to small claims court, if I'm scared of those things, and those are legitimate fears, I totally get it.
yeah,
Then this is another way to have a tool to create more money for the consumer that they can then decide where they want to apply it. And you may want to do this anyway. You may be a great negotiator, you may get paid full for your repairs, but you still may want to offer the customer, hey, when you go to sell this thing, here we go.
yeah,
You're going to want to go ahead and make this claim. You can make this claim, the statute of limitations for whatever it is. Typically, it's like 3 years. I mean, so I could open up
yeah.
my files and go, let me go back a couple of years and kind of open up some things. But if you're a dealership, if your body shop is attached to a dealership and you're doing lease cars, this is fantastic for you
Yes.
because it's you take a hit as a dealer when those cars come back, even if it's your dealership body shop that did them. A lot of times they're now not eligible for certified resale, for certified pre-owned, etc. And so you're going to end up auctioning off those cars. Your used car manager is going to have to take those to auction versus put them on a lot and resell them. So we have one dealership using it and is in love with it right now. It's really streamlined that process for them where before most dealers were like, we know we have DV, but we don't even know how to claim it. Like,
Yeah.
what do we do? So this has
And they're
been great.
completely offering it as a service for all their customers, and they're loving it because it's unique in their market right now, and they're the only ones offering it, so it's pretty unique for them.
That report makes a big difference. That reporting, it's not me as a customer calling up the insurer and going, "Hey, I think my car's lost $1,500 in value," and then now we're playing the high-low game of negotiations. I've handed you a document. Now, for them to counter, they're going to have to hand me a document back, which means they're going to have to hire an expert. They're going to have to do a lot of things. I think that's why the acceptance rate for this product for you has been so high right now. Is that
Yeah.
what's required when a customer hands me an expert report? What's required? I can't. We talked about it in the State Farm class. I can't say I don't wanna. That's the toddler defense. It doesn't really work. I don't wanna. It doesn't really work well in court. So
The
I'm
argument
I'm
isn't
loving
really,
it.
yeah, the argument isn't really that there isn't diminished value. It's what is the diminished value, right? I mean,
It
yeah,
really has changed. I mean, I can tell you in the 90s, yeah, I could play that game a little bit because there was not a Carfax and there was not all this data and electronics and all this stuff out there. I can remember a dealership and I went head to head on one and I made them sell the car and their stupid sales department sold it for more than retail was. And I was like, so you owe me money back, right? Like it was, and I still remember that dealership principal being livid at the whole thing. But those
yeah,
days are gone. I mean,
yeah.
there's just too much technology around it. And then with OEs getting involved in insurance, they're going to be more involved in that. I mean, when we meet with OEs, I know Jason meets with the OEs. They don't really want to talk to me anymore, and they never want to talk to Larry. But
Can't imagine
but
why.
Jason's had several meetings with the OEs because they're taking big hits on lease turn-in cars, and they're trying to figure out a system for looking at those cars when they're turned in, establishing what the damages are, what the loss of value is, and they can't continue to take a loss. And so I think the OEs getting into the insurance arena, this will become even bigger for them as well. So kudos, you and Mark Olson did a fantastic job. DV
Thank,
was always my little negotiation secret, and now we're just gonna let everybody have it. So
yeah, we're
I'm excited.
excited. Yeah, we're excited to see how it goes.
All right,
So
so
thank
Derek,
you.
how do people get in touch or signed up or get started with this product?
Well, they can visit our website and learn more, and they can sign up directly from there. So that is www.crytech.com. So you can visit the website, you can learn more about it, sign up right there. You can obviously reach out to us at any time, and our main line is 949-922-0018. And we're happy to talk to anybody, answer any questions, and get you going.
Yeah, I saw your Larry. So I have Larry, and you have a Larry too. I
Yes.
saw your Larry was posting that phone number online. So hopefully, you guys are going to get really busy. This is two launches within a week, two cool new products within a week, and I know you got one more coming.
Some really exciting stuff coming very soon that I can't wait for us to do another one of these little videos on, because that's gonna change some stuff. I think that's really gonna
Yeah,
blow up.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think you're going to change the world with that one, and I'm really excited to be I've always liked being a disruptor, and I'm excited to help that one come to market as well. So, all right, so you guys visit Crytek, get signed up on it, start conditioning yourself and your estimators to have conversations with consumers. For the other 49 states, that would be your third party claim. So that's a claimant that comes to you. For you folks in Georgia, that's every car that comes in the shop. Even I think not on comp. I need to go re-review that. I can't remember. I still have PTSD from that trial. So so there's some things there that I got to work out. So all right, we'll learn more about it and make sure it's a fantastic way to close the gap and not have to have big losses on short pays or use some of those other alternative collection methods that Larry and I like, but I know that it makes some shops very uncomfortable to do. So thank you, Derek. And thank you, Mark Olson. I know you couldn't join us, but shout out to you as well. Bye, guys.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.